All right, guys, let's look at the third student task statement called measuring the classroom. Your teacher will tell you which 3 items to measure. Keep using the paper rulers from the earlier activity. Number 1, between you and your partner, decide who will use which ruler. Which in the previous activity, we were supposed to use a centimeter ruler and a millimeter ruler, but of course we're at home. But you was supposed to measure 3 items that the teacher assigned you guys. If you notice, I've already have these tables filled out except for the percentage portion because I want to show you guys how to calculate the percentage again. And of course, I'm going to skip all the way to question our statement 4, which says calculate the difference, which is already stated in the table. And it says find the percentage. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing number 5, which it says find the percentage. And it said what percentage of the actual length is this amount? Record your answers in the last column of the tables. Okay, so it wants us to find the measurement error or the percent error. Okay, so the difference will be the numerator because that's the actual mistake. Okay, or of course in this case, which we're looking at the eraser length, notice that we measured 19 centimeters. The actual is 19 centimeters. So there was no mistake. All right. So if there was no mistakes, we could assume that the percent of the error or the measurement error is at 0%. Okay. Now, if you wanted to calculate it, okay, 0 over 19, x over 100. If I cross multiply, I get 19. X is equal to 0. What times 19 would give you 0? And of course, that would be 0%. Now, I'm going to put at the top that X is going to represent the percent error. I know this lesson didn't introduce this term just yet, but that's where we're technically finding the percent error. Okay. So now let's look at the second one. The second one, the difference was 4 4/10. So that's my numerator. And I'm going to put that at the top. I'm going to put the error over the actual is equal to the percent over 100. And of course, since we're trying to find the percent, that's all for each option. That's the one we're going to be finding. But anywho, so it's going to be 4.4 or 4 4/10 over 110.4 is equal to, we don't know the error of the percentages yet, so over 100. Okay. So I am using a calculator, guys, but I'm still going to walk and talk you guys through the steps. So I'm going to cross multiply. And when I cross multiply, I get 410. 440, I apologize for that, and 110.4 times X. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to isolate this variable to help us identify what is the percent error. So by doing that, I'm going to divide by 110.4 or 110 4/10. And that's going to help me isolate my variable. So when I do that, I get, and I'm going to round to the nearest percent, I get about, and I'll put in a corner, about 4%. What I actually got was 3.9855, but when you round, all those numbers will round up, so I'm going to put about 4%. Okay. So if you still need these annotations, guys, rewind the video, but I'm about to move on to the next portion. So just friendly reminder before I delete it, make sure you rewind the video if you didn't know how I found that. So moving on to the next part. Now it says the book height was 20. They measured 28 centimeters, but the actual length is 27.5 centimeters. The difference was 5/10 or a half. So I'm going to put that arrow above the actual, which is 27 and a half equals x over 100. Just like what I did with the other problems, I'm going to cross multiply. And I get 50 is equal to 27 times x. And now I want to isolate my variable. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. And it's going to be 27 and a half. Okay. So if I round to the nearest hundredth or the nearest tenth, which I'm going to round to the nearest tenth, I should get about 1.8%. If you guys are using your calculator at home, you might have saw this. 81, 81, 81. But we round to the nearest tenth. Okay? So now moving on to the bottom portion is with the millimeter ruler. So I will also be annotating in black as well. So the difference for the first one, which is the eraser length, is 1/10. And I'm putting the actual over 19. Now keep in mind, I'm referencing back to this little setup I had. So, all right. So then it's going to be the percent error over 100. Okay. Now I'm going to cross multiply. I get 10 when I cross multiply 1/10 times 100. And I get 19x is equal to. Now, I may have not mentioned this before, but how I know I need to divide by 19 is because 19 times x gives me this number. So therefore, I need to divide to figure out what number is being multiplied. Okay, so when I divide on both sides by 19, now the variable is by itself. So 10 divided by 19 is actually, and I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, which in your calculator you should have got 0.526 and so many other numbers, but we're rounding to the nearest tenth. We're going to keep it consistent. And it's going to be 5/10 or a half percent. Okay. Now, since I have some room at the bottom, I'm going to do the rest at the bottom. And I'm going to draw a line to help you guys, see, organize notes, make the best note. So here we go. For the next one, the tabletop, it had the same difference, same measurements. So guys, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be the same percent? And if you guess yes, you are absolutely correct. The numbers are the same, and I'm going to highlight that for you guys. The numbers are the same, therefore the percentage would be the same. So let me put that keyword about 4%. Okay. Now for the last one, the percent errors is 2/10. So what I'm going to do is 2/10 over the actual, which is 27.5, is equal to percent or x over 100, which the x is representing the percent error or the measurement percent error. I'm going to cross multiply. Okay. And I should get 20 is equal to 27.5x. And I can decide to isolate that variable. So 27.5 divided by 27.5. I cancel that out. And I should get this number in my calculator. This is what you should be getting. And remember, we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So if I round it to the nearest tenth, the number I'm going to be focusing on, or where I'm stopping at, is 7. Because remember that 2 is not big enough to round that 7 to go up. So we should get 0.7%. Okay. So if you guys had any issues with this lesson, make sure you refer to your manager's Google Meet session. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's lesson. All right, guys. Bye.